Do you remember what we all non-essential workers thought at the very beginning of the pandemic? When they told us you will have to stay indoors for a couple of weeks, not leave your home. We all thought, oh wow, that's kind of great for my work, right? I will have so much time to catch up with work that I was left behind with, and I will be so productive because I have nothing else to do but stay at home and work, right? Haha, haha. Most of us, I think, had the same experience. We weren't able to work at all. We didn't feel motivated, we weren't able to focus, and so we just spent our days trying to force ourselves to work, but not being able to be productive at all. At least this is what I've heard from all my friends that I was texting or talking on the phone with. They all told me the same thing, that they were feeling so guilty because they had all this time available to work, but they weren't able to. And I was just like them. I also couldn't work. There has been one difference between me and my friends though. They kept pushing themselves for weeks to put themselves to work with no success. I, on the contrary, was able to apply a new principle that I was testing on myself since already 6 months at that point. The principle was very simple. I wanted to see how my productivity and my general happiness would have been affected if I only did whatever I felt like doing at the moment, whatever I would have liked to do at any single moment in my day or in my week. So those first 1 or 2 weeks of lockdown, I just literally laid down on the couch at home, watching TV series or stupid videos on YouTube. I wasn't doing anything else because I didn't feel like doing anything. And the result was the exact same one as my friends. We were all unable to do any useful work. With the difference that I at least didn't feel guilty at all because it was my decision to not do anything. And I was also, to be honest, able to enjoy a little bit that doing nothing that I was doing. Even if, of course, I wasn't feeling extremely good about myself because, of course, I wasn't doing anything productive with my life. I wasn't creating anything. I was just resting. For me, the pandemic has been simply the confirmation of a suspect that I had already in my mind and that I was testing. The fact that letting myself do whatever I feel like doing in that moment does not affect my productivity. On the contrary, it affects my happiness because I'm able to be more relaxed, stress way less, and let my creativity and my motivation arrive when it arrives by itself without me pushing it. A second very important thing that I learned with this pandemic that is related to this principle is related to my sleeping time. I've always struggled with too much sleeping. I'm one of those people for which waking up in the morning is very, very hard. I remember since I was going to school every morning, for me it was kind of a little torture to wake up. And when I stopped going to school in my adult life, I didn't have to wake up at 6 or 7 every morning to go to school. So because I started to sleeping a little bit longer than usual, I started feeling guilty. Guilty of sleeping too long. I was convinced that 8 hours is what the human body needs to sleep. And so if I would oversleep, I would feel bad about myself. This situation got much worse when I started watching YouTube because I got in contact with the whole hustle culture of these American YouTubers that talk about productivity and make videos about how to be more productive, how to get done more things during your days. People who would work for 12, 14 hours per day and sleep 6 or 7 hours per night. They were waking up at sunrise and I thought, hey, if they can do it, I can do it too. And I was so fascinated by this idea of being able to be so productive, to get so much work done during my days by simply applying discipline. So I started trying to wake up at sunrise and shorten my sleeping time at night. I was feeling good about myself when I was able to undersleep, to wake up very early, but then inevitably there was that 3rd, 4th, 5th day where I would oversleep and feel very, very bad about myself. Of course, as you can imagine, my productivity was not improving at all. the epitome of this American phenomenon on YouTube, this glorification of the hustle, of the busy, of the productivity, is to me represented by Casey Neistat, one of the most important vloggers of YouTube so far, who made an extremely successful video about his daily routine, 7 days per week, where he would work like 14 hours per day and sleep 4 hours per night. I cannot even imagine how many kids has followed his example and still follow his example, because this video is so popular. And I myself got so fascinated by this kind of mentality, this rhythm of lifestyle. This went on till the beginning of the pandemic, when I just gave up. I gave up any discipline that I had on myself, and I started doing nothing productive during the day and sleep as many hours as I wanted during the night. I literally didn't set any alarm, and I discovered something pretty incredible for me. After a few days, I wasn't oversleeping anymore. I started sleeping between 8.5 and 9 hours per night, and I was waking up completely rested and feeling great. So that's how I discovered that all I needed was just to sleep 30 to 60 minutes more every day. And of course now I feel like I have shorter days, I have less time to live during my days, but this lack of quantity is absolutely compensated by the increased quality of my days. And also I'm convinced that all these extra hours that I'm sleeping during my life will allow me to live a couple of years more healthy life at the end of my life. There is no right or wrong way to live your life. There's also not a better one or worse one for everybody. I think you need to experiment, because what works for someone else might not work for yourself. So try not to feel the pressure of other people if you do something different, like sleeping more hours or getting rest when your body asks you to get rest. I invite you to run a little bit of an experiment on yourself, just like I did. What do you have to lose? A few months of productivity? What is that in comparison to an entire life of happiness? Just try for a few months to eliminate stress from your life, to do things only when and if you want to do them. And of course, probably the majority of you are gonna tell me, Mary Jane, I cannot do that. I have a job, I'm an employee, I have duties. Yes, I understand. I didn't decide to become a YouTuber because I was looking for fame or money. Fame to me is just an obstacle to my happiness, and money, well, who follows my channel knows that I make very little money by choice. Especially if you are still far away from your pension, I invite you to consider to change job and find something that you are passionate about, so that when you work it doesn't feel like a weight on your shoulders, but it feels like something that gives purpose to your life, and something that doesn't make you feel like you're a slave for someone else. And even if you do like your job very much and you don't want to change it just because you have to adapt to someone else's schedule, that doesn't mean that you cannot apply my principle. I still do things that I don't feel like doing in that specific moment. If I think about the consequences that doing it right now might have on my life, then maybe I want to do it now. For example, I always feel very nervous when I have to shoot a video, and today I wasn't really feeling very inspired or motivated, but at the same time I thought, if I don't make this video, I'm never gonna share these thoughts that I think they might be important for someone, and I'm not gonna feel very good about myself. Instead, if I go and do it, I'm gonna feel much happier afterwards. That's all for today. I'm Mary Jane. I usually do travel vlogs where I try to promote sustainable traveling, slow traveling, and respect for the environment. And I do all of this with a little bit of philosophical and ethical approach. I don't know when I'm gonna upload this video, if it's gonna be not in the summer anymore. Hello from the Alps. I'll see you soon.